Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine to order at 5 p.m. on Monday, April the 20th, 2020. And I am here in the council chambers at the Municipal Administration Center, and the rest of council is phoning in. You'll be able to hear them. And our clerk, Donna McDougall, is also with me tonight. And of course, Matt Smith, running the TV. Number 2 on the agenda, are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from the agenda?
Yes, Bill.
Oh, yes.
And then Doug here after that, please. Yep.
Okay, sorry. I should have done roll call so that everybody would know. So for roll call, our Deputy Mayor, Marie Wilson.
Present.
Dave Kyler. Is Dave here yet? He will be coming later, he said. And Councillor Maureen Couture. Is she here? Okay. And Councillor Jerry Glover.
Present.
Councillor Bill Stewart.
Present.
Councillor Randy Ropel.
Present.
Councillor Laura Haight.
Here.
And Councillor Doug Kennedy.
Present.
Along with myself. And for staff present, Sharon Chambers, our CAO.
Present.
And of course, Donna's here with me, our clerk. Roxana Bauman, our treasurer.
Present.
Michelle Barr, our director of building and planning. Okay. Karen Kiefer, Parks and Recreation.
Present.
Adam Weiser, Public Works.
Present.
Jen Laurie, our deputy clerk. We've got our clerk tonight. So, Kevin McNeely, our fire chief.
Present.
Okay. Thank you. So, we had additions to the agenda.
Correct. Bill?
Bill? What did you wish to
Yeah,
add?
I wouldn't mind. Do you want me to go now?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk about Connaught Park and the waste, the yard waste we're having over there. Dave brought up something that we need to sort of talk. I think I sent a note over to Adam. It seems like we're very successful. People are doing their lawns, and there's lots of yard waste going to Connaught Park. And I guess over the weekend, not this week, maybe last weekend, we had to move about 20 truckloads over to the garage.
Yeah, you don't have to explain it all. It's just regarding.
Just let's talk about Connaught and the yard waste, okay?
Okay, so I'm thinking that's committee of the whole agenda or council, Donna. Committee of the whole.
One.
Okay, so that'll be added to committee of the whole.
Thank you.
So if the next item is do you have it for? I think it would probably.
No, I had something. I got something to add later on that you told me to add later, but I'd like to talk about the traffic light on the corner of Harbour Street and Huron Terrace, if that's possible tonight. I've just had some phone calls about it, and I've went down the last 2 or 3 days, and I've just got some questions about if we can.
Okay, committee of the whole would be where we would add it as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody have a disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? So we'll move to adoption of minutes from the regular and special meetings of council.
Moved by Doug Kennedy, seconded by Jerry Glover, that the minutes of the council meetings held on April 6, 2020 and April 15, 2020 be adopted as printed.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed? Any abstainers? The motion carried. So the next one is a notice of motion. Does anybody have a notice of motion tonight? And now we go to 6.1, which is the David Merrill Goodale and Catherine Goodale Development Agreement Bylaw.
Moved by Laura Haight, seconded, oh, Maureen's not on the call, so,
I'm here.
oh, you are there. Oh, sorry. When did you come in, Maureen?
It's Maureen's that's not here.
Sorry?
It is Maureen that is still absent.
Yeah, that's what I said. So Maureen Couture. So moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Jerry Glover, that the David Merle Goodale and Catherine Marlene Goodale Development Agreement Bylaw be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2020-068.
Any further discussion?
Yes, Ann, I have a question.
Yes.
Could somebody in their wisdom refresh my memory as to the Goodall situation here? I can't remember what all was entailed. Is this the one that was going to have the wedding, the place where they held the weddings and the receptions, or am I way out in left field somewhere?
I'll turn it to Michelle. She's
Yeah, Michelle speaking, yes. So this one is with regards to a severance that the Goodales have done. And as part of the severance, they have put a condition on that they enter into an agreement with the municipality that would cover the environmental impact study that was completed for the project. And in the EIS study, there is a building envelope that's been identified on the property where they could build. And so what we're doing is just entering into an agreement with the owners of the property, indicating that they will do all their development as per the environmental impact study. So it's very similar to the one that we did previously, where we had to do an ARC study on the farmlands if they built in that area. So it is just a condition as part of a severance to do. And normally it would have been on the consent agenda, but because of the late receival of the agreement, it's been put on the council agenda for tonight.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, those in favor?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? Abstainers? Motion carried. Next, we move into Committee of the Whole.
Moved by Randy Ropel, seconded by Marie Wilson. The council move into Committee of the Whole and upon completion return to council.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. So I'm going to call the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine to order, and it is 5:08. So the amendments and additions or deletions to or from this agenda, we have 2 added to this agenda. And Donna, where should they go? So 6.3 or 6.
For numbering purposes, 6.3.
Okay, 6.4. Okay. So a mover and seconder that we add Bill Stewart's and Doug Kennedy's.
Also move, Randy.
Okay, moved by Randy. Second by.
And
Sorry, we couldn't hear.
it's Marie, I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? Motion carried. Next, does anybody have a disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Hearing none, we'll move to adoption of the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meetings.
Moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Marie Wilson, that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on April 15, 2020 be adopted as printed.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. So 6.1 is recreation services, and it is the retaining wall tender at Dunsmore Park. And I'll turn it over to Karen for the discussion, or to her report.
Okay, thank you. So in 2019, a new washroom building was constructed at Dunsmore Park in Kincardine. As a result of this construction, a retaining wall is required to address the grade differential along the south and west sides of the new washroom building and to minimize the overall parking space impacts. The retaining wall project was included and approved in the 2020 capital budget. There will be an aluminum handrail on top of the retaining wall and a set of cement steps at the southwest corner, and then there will be a cement sidewalk from the top of these stairs over to the building. A sidewalk around the building will ensure that the facility is fully accessible. BM Ross recommended that instead of completing the restoration work as was included in the original construction contract to Allen Hastings, Inc., that we transfer the restoration costs from the original washroom project to the retaining wall project. This transfer of funds amounts to $16,150, with the $58,500 that was budgeted for in 2020. That brings us to a total of $74,650 available. You'll see in the recommendation that the actual cost is $77,673.41. So we're short of funds to complete the project in the amount of $3,023.41, and staff is recommending to take these extra funds required from the original budgeted amount from 2019, which at the time was $275,000, and by doing that, we'll be able to proceed with this project in 2020. It should also be noted, just as a point of interest, that the washroom project itself is near completion, and we anticipate that once we're given the go-ahead to open up our outdoor facilities, that this will be one of the first that we'll be able to open. And as a further update, if Council will recall, they put some funds in the 2020 budget through the Environment Committee for 2 exterior water fountain bottle stations. Those units have been ordered, and we'll be able to install them once they arrive, and it is appropriate to do so. So that is my report, Mayor Edie.
Great.
So the recommendation is that Council award the Dunsmore Park retaining wall tender to Ackard Construction Limited at a cost of $77,673.41, inclusive of the non-refundable HST. So Donna, did you have a mover and a seconder?
Did. That is moved by Jerry Glover and seconded by Doug Kennedy.
So is there any further discussion or questions on this?
Bill, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Does this include, the last time we did a washroom with BM Ross, does this include engineering cost at $77,673.41?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
It does.
Okay, just a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So this wasn't really picked up in the initial tender when we built the washroom. This was sort of an add-on. We were just going to slope, I guess. Now we're going to build some retaining walls. When did this decision, and who makes those decisions?
So this was discussed in the beginning of the tender process and identified as a potential issue going forward, but it was recommended that we wait and do this separately to see if this was going to be a safety issue and if the slope would take away too much parking. So it was identified in the beginning, but we decided that it would be sort of a part 2 of the project.
Okay, good. Appreciate that. And just the other thing, and thank God we sort of came, but, the bids for a smaller project, you can see that the lowest one was 77 all the way up to about 112. It is a concern when we start bidding on this project that we almost have a 50% increase from the lowest to the highest. I mean, we're sort of lucky we got in at 77, I was just wondering if there's any concern there or anything that, maybe we're not tendering properly, or because, we're all over the bid, or what we thought was going to be a tender, and it's gone all the way up to 112, which is about $35,000 greater. I just have concern over the bidding and tendering.
Well, I might comment on that, Doug, here, if that's okay. I was part of that process when we met down there about those washrooms, identifying where they should go. And we could have did it way cheaper, well, not way cheaper, a little bit cheaper, moving it to the underside of the parking lot. But that was not fair to the seniors that attend the festivals in that park and the people to put washrooms anywhere but where we decided to put them. And that's just my opinion. So.
Okay, good. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
Did you have any other comments, Karen?
I have nothing further.
Yes, the construction company is a local construction company in the area. Is noted for fairly good.
Yes, they are, and they've actually were one of the subcontractors with Alan Hastings, so they are very familiar with the project and work well with our staff. So we have no problem recommending them.
Okay, thank you. If there's no more comments, all in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried. Next, it's 6.2 and A, and it's the Bruce County Levee due date deferral, and I'll turn this over to Roxana.
Okay, thank you. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Kincardine Council approved several financial relief options, including waiving interest on 2020 property taxes and utility billing. At its meeting on April 9th, Bruce County Council was presented with a staff report with a recommendation to defer county taxes to be in line with the deferral granted by the Province of Education for education taxes. As per the County Treasurer's report, which is attached, at least 5 of the 8 lower tier municipalities must approve the change of the due date for 2020, representing at least 2/3 of the weighted assessments. And it requires at least either one of Kincardine or Saugeen Shores to approve this. The deferral of the county tax levy will significantly benefit the lower tiers, and staff is recommending that council approve the county's due date deferral as the matters arising.
Are there any questions for Roxana? Hearing none, the recommendation, of course, Roxana said that council approved Bruce County's request to defer the Bruce County tax levy due dates as put forward in the attached county staff report.
And it's moved by Randy Ropel and seconded by Laura Haight.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried. Next is 6.2B. Councillor Ropel had requested that we have this on the agenda. 2019 year-end capital review report. And so, Councillor Ropel, I'm going to ask if you had any specific things you wanted to say about this. We heard a little bit last time.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Roxana. I called her, and she sent me the material that I needed for tonight's meeting. And I have spreadsheets here. I usually have them done on stone, but since I've come to the tablet now, but I do have paper spreadsheets. I think my concern, I'm starting to get worried when I, as an elected official, and I understand issues that we have to go through, and I understand positions that we get ourselves into, that we've got a lot of jobs sitting on the books here, a lot of them. And a lot of them some of them were moved over from last year. We got 29. My worry is, I see things on here that, as far as I'm concerned, I would have liked to have seen done prior to us getting into this predicament we're into. And the other worry is, because we're into this predicament, I worry that we're going to add more after this year onto this list. So we're going to have to, from my perspective, I want to sit down with council. We're going to have to go through this and sit down with management and say, like, we've got to set a plan together when we get out of this mess as to how we're going to address all these issues that are on the spreadsheet, plus what we've agreed to this year. So I'm not going to draw this thing right out. I'm not saying we're not going to do it. I'm just saying this is taxpayers' money sitting here, and I'm sure that we either took it from reserves or we put it on the taxes. Regardless, the bottom line is we have got to address these issues sooner than later, and when we get out of this thing, we've got to take a whole bunch of these, and I'm sure some of you have looked at the spreadsheets. We got to get these jobs done sooner than later, because down the road it will affect the way we run this municipality. So that's my take on it. It's open. Anybody else got any thoughts? Go for it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Bill has some thoughts.
Yes, Bill.
I agree with Randy. There is some concern here with the amount of projects that are still outstanding, and especially when we get into this pandemic thing. Somehow we're going to have to review them. Maybe what we can ask the staff is that once we get back together, maybe in July, when we're all together, we can sit down and review them, and I hope by then that there's a few more completed. As I was talking to Roxanne, some of these things that are uncompleted just could be an invoice. We're not quite sure exactly what stage, and I don't want to go through it tonight, but I think that maybe we can support Randy and actually have another review either in July and August and see where the 2019 projects are, the status then. Would you agree with that, Randy?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and from my perspective, what it does is it shows the taxpayers, who I'm responsible to, and we're all responsible to, it shows that we are making headway and we are going to address those issues.
Anyone else? I was just going to say maybe our staff can add something, but I think some of them were intended to be 2-year projects in, like say the bottom of the 5th concession. Major work was done last year, but the paving is on this year. Kind of it's a project that's carried forward. I don't think sometimes it's carried forward because it couldn't be done. It's better to wait sometimes on certain road projects. Adam, would you have any comment?
Yeah, thanks, Mary D. So that is relevant. I did, after Councillor Ropel did request to take a look at this, I went through the list from last year. And, obviously Public Works has a majority of the projects, both from that list overall and outstanding. In 2019, we had 47 projects total. We completed 26. But of the ones that are considered incomplete, 10 to 14 of them we have now received the piece of equipment. They still have surface paving that's going to happen this year, so they were 2-year projects. A number of others were either near construction or are out being constructed now and will be completed within kind of the middle of the year. So, I do think if you look at it just from a numbers perspective, it looks daunting. But if I was to share specific details for each project, and some even have 2 to 3 project line items in the budget as it relates either to engineering or construction phases of it. So I think it's less worrisome, but I also do appreciate that with the pandemic, it's certainly going to potentially impose challenges, and it would be worth a look at a later date.
So, Adam, just when you're here, before we leave this, the project, the Durham Street extension, it's still going ahead this year, as I understand, right? It's able to be, the main part over to number 9, but next year probably be the paving, the road.
Yeah, that's correct. So all of the servicing will go in this year. We'll bring the Durham Street extension to a gravel base. and that'll allow the private utilities to install any of the infrastructure they require there. And then next year we would complete the curb and gutter and the pavement for the base asphalt. And it is still being constructed. The contractor has implemented a number of considerations due to the pandemic and COVID-19 into their operations. We've had the Ministry of Labor on site just doing a routine inspection, and they were quite pleased with all of the measures they've put in place. So we're at a point where we are going to be starting the section of Millennium Way between Durham and kind of the south end of that road that was formerly constructed. That's essentially the balance of what's needed for the underground servicing. All the other pipe work is in.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like...
Mary Edie?
Yes.
Mary Edie, Sharon here.
Yes, Sharon.
We are working on a report for council. We've had a meeting with the senior managers to discuss the potential impact on projects that we had in the 2020 budget, and we'll be bringing forward a report to council to discuss the impact and make some recommendations as to some things that we feel may have to be deferred. So there will definitely be an opportunity for further discussion on this.
Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Yeah,
and
thanks, Sharon.
I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea anyway, I think, in a normal year to have an update, but this year in particular. So was there any other comments? So we'll move on to the COVID-19 and declared emergency report by our CAO. Sharon?
I actually gave quite a full report at council last week, which was less than a week ago, and I really don't have a whole lot to update. I will say that the recovery center is almost complete. We're just waiting on a few final deliveries like linens and lamps and some PPE. And then it should be done by the middle, at the very latest, the end of this week. And I did have an inquiry from Mayor Edie, who was inquiring about our campgrounds and the snowbirds. I think he had some questions from residents, and I just thought I would clarify this for council, that our campgrounds are considered non-essential. However, anyone who is a snowbird and uses that as their primary residence is allowed to stay there in the summer. So with the Kincardine campground, we do have 3 of those individuals who will be permitted to stay there, but the campground is closed to recreational uses. So I just thought I would clarify that for council. And other than that, I don't have anything, but I would welcome any members of council that have any questions on our pandemic response. Please bring those forward now.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Sharon? So last week we passed that be till June 30th that we're not booking for any of our recreation or parks or community centers, etc. So this applies, I had an inquiry, it applies to the market, Monday market and Saturday market as well. And at this time, they are included in that. I was assuming.
Yes, they are.
Yes, okay. So that was just a matter of clarification. I wanted to make sure. I was assuming they were. So next...
Actually, before you move ahead,
okay.
Councillor Stewart, Councillor Couture is not here this evening. Did you want to provide that Saugeen Valley information? And then I believe Councillor Kennedy had something he thought he might bring up during this topic.
Okay, so this is...
Okay, yeah, sure I will. Sorry, I thought Maureen was going to be there. I just wanted to give you an update. The Saugeen Valley Conservation Area is still functioning, but very much like our municipal office, it's still working its planning and everything else. The office is closed. If you need or any of the residents are looking around, you still can contact them by email or by phone. And they will work out the necessary things. It's a little slower, but they even do site visits and everything else. So they're continuing on as much as they can. with the planning and everything, but the office is closed, and the only way to contact them is either by phone or by email.
Okay,
Is there any questions about that? So they're functioning just like us.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Bill. It's good. It's different, but it works. Maybe not quite as fast, but it works. So, Bill, that takes us to 6.2D, and you can talk about your other topic.
Is Councillor Dave on the phone? Dave?
I don't think he has come. He would have checked in. We would have heard his name.
Okay, Dave actually called me about a concern in being a policy chair, and I believe, Adam, I sent you an email on this already. It's to do with Connaught Park. I guess the temporary site for yard waste has been somewhat successful. And I guess Councillor Dave was looking at the site, and I guess they were so success that we had to move I heard from Dave, about 20 truckloads of waste over to the back of our garage in Kincardine. And Dave was just a little concerned, and I am too, why wasn't that yard waste moved right into the landfill? And maybe this is unfair because Adam might not know, because I just sent him an email today. Adam?
Yeah, so I would have to look into that with staff to understand why. Originally, when we did set up the two sites, it was with the intent that we would haul direct from the site to the Waste Management Center.
Okay, that's fine. Since Dave's on here, maybe you can work it out and just send us an email.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Appreciate it, Adam.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Kennedy, 6.5.
Okay, is this the stoplight or the idea that I was going to talk about?
Oh, so you have two things.
Two things,
this
yeah.
is.
No,
you mentioned the stoplight, and I think you have
stoplight first. I'm concerned, and plus a lot of residents around that area are concerned about the stoplight at Huron Terrace and Harbour Street being a manual stoplight that is pushed by walkers. With now the traffic that is not on Queen Street, and I realize it's not as busy as it would be if we were in normal times, but I was wondering if there's any way that the council would consider changing that stoplight to an automatic stoplight with a longer than usual time for the traffic that's going on here in Terrace. So that's my request. I just think we have a lot of seniors and people down at the bottom of that hill on Harbour Street that are finding it difficult to get onto Huron Terrace, especially with that hill there. They're a little nervous. And anyways, it's a request that I had from quite a few people actually in the last few days. So.
Okay, so that I
Sorry,
guess.
it's Laura.
Yes.
Doug, I'm not. Are you saying that the pedestrian crossing needs to be longer? Is that what they're looking for?
No, I think we need a regular stoplight there.
Ah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the traffic that is trying to get on. Sorry for not explaining it well enough, but the traffic that is trying to get on off Harbour Street onto Huron Terrace is having some problems right now because of the higher traffic that is now not on Queen Street.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
I'm just a little
wondering for 3 or 4 months when the Queen Street is closed that we can change that stoplight for that period of time. It's just a.
So sorry, you're talking about the Queen Street one.
No, I'm talking about the stoplight on the corner of Huron Terrace and Harbour Street. That is a manual stoplight for pedestrians to push to cross the street. I think we need that changed to a regular stoplight because of the traffic that is going along Huron Terrace right now because of the closure of Queen Street Bridge.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So this is a temporary thing.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. 4 months.
So it is tricky coming from Harbour Street, whether you're a pedestrian or you're trying to turn left off Harbour Street at the best of times. I'm down there quite a bit, and so I wasn't aware of that issue. I've never had any problem. Used to have a lot of problems in before we've changed it, trying to navigate the street and then get your left turn if you needed one. So I think we'll just turn it over to Adam for his consideration.
I can support that. It's Bill here, especially if there's a problem Doug's saying now. You can imagine during the summer it could be really bad.
Mayor Edie, if I
Yes.
can,
Yes.
real quick. So thanks, Councillor Kennedy. We'll take a look at that. I mean, obviously, converting that in the immediate foreseeable future is costly and a little more challenging, but we can look at it from a lens that's more long term. In the short term, what I can share with all of council is that we did have a discussion today with some public works staff in regards to the fact that the Queen Street structure is closed and we are pushing all of the traffic over to Huron Terrace. But we are going to look at some temporary either two-way or four-way stops at other intersections or three-way intersections. So example, St. Albert and Huron Terrace, Lambton and Durham on Huron Terrace. We're going to examine those and possibly come back to council with a suggestion to implement temporary stopping at those intersections to try and slow traffic down as well. And that may add some benefit also.
Yeah, I think that would help for sure. Thanks, Adam. Yep.
Okay, thank you. And Doug, I think this is the time I saw the email. You wanted to talk about something else at this meeting tonight as well.
Yeah, thanks. I just wondered about trying to help out some families and individuals around Kincardine that might be hurting financially right now. And it was an idea about maybe cooking some food and delivering it, maybe out of one of our facilities in the safest way we could do it. And or maybe work with some restaurants. I don't want to take business away from them. Maybe the answer is to maybe work with some restaurants on preparing some food and delivering it to some people that are having trouble financially. So that's a short version of the ideas I kind of had. So just it's up for discussion.
Okay. Who has some comments?
It's Jerry. I totally support this motion. More people are affected than not, and if there's anything that I or we can do, I would totally support Councillor Kennedy's motion going forward on any level.
And
Laura?
Yes, Laura?
I mean, I support the idea wholeheartedly. I think, though, with respect to the health unit and kitchens and how we're going to do this, I'd kind of like to see what staff has to say on how we would do it and maintain the sanitation of the facility, keep our social distancing. If the overflow center gets used at the gymnasium at the Davidson Center, I'm not sure we could use that kitchen facility there, so we'd have to look at it might have to be Tiverton, or we could use maybe the Legion or their curling club or something like that. But I'd like to have a little bit more thought put into the logistics of it, and if staff could maybe put their mind to it for a bit for the next meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Thanks, Laura. Anybody else?
Bill?
Yes, Bill?
Once again, like everyone else, I support it. If you can find the details and do it, I'd like to support this 100%. I noticed that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Bruce Power actually got together with Sobeys and some other groups and had all these gift bags or these bags. So they're looking at the same thing. There's some people out there in our community that need some help, and if we as a council, and Doug, if you can think of anything, sign me up, please.
So what I'm hearing is I think does somebody want to make a motion? I just wanted to comment. I think if there is a way, of course, staff can look into this for us, that we can, if there are some local restaurants we can support as well. I'd like to support our local businesses too, but whatever solution works. So, yes, who would like to?
All right, Anne, it's Marie.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say I support this as well, and I'm wondering if there's some partnerships perhaps we could find out from the food bank. They'll have a better idea, I think, of what the needs are. I know there's a group in Tiverton that has put out a newsletter that there's already a group that is helping people out here. So they also might be a valuable resource as well. So I think there's different partnerships that we should be exploring too, instead of reinventing the wheel.
So, Marie, did you want to make a motion?
Sure. Okay. So So we want. I'll move that staff prepare a report on the feasibility and the different options of providing. Is it meals?
Prepared foods.
Pardon?
Prepared foods, Marie?
Prepared foods to those in need.
Okay, and a seconder?
I'll second it, Doug, here. Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Yep.
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
So next is the mayor's update. I think, as I'll start by saying, as a rural community and fellow Canadians, we can extend our heartfelt support to the rural communities in Nova Scotia, and especially to the families experiencing such tragic loss of family members. And I would like to honor the lives lost just with a minute of silence, so people at home can join us as well. So thank you. There'll be some tough days ahead, but we'll all support them. I'll go on to the next, in case it's so hard, there's so much information these days, in case you missed this item, this media release from Bruce County on Friday. There was a purchase of something called Clean Flow Healthcare Mini Machines, and it's a partnership between Bruce County, Huron County, and Bruce Power. And this is, if needed, to sanitize personal protective equipment for frontline healthcare workers if there are shortages in the future. So they're going to purchase them and have them ready. If they are needed, Abraflex in Paisley will not only house the equipment, but will operate the equipment. They have the expertise. So it's another way we'll be prepared. And the Grey Bruce Public Health Update on April 17th. Those tested for COVID-19 can now access the results online about 5 days after being tested, so you would check the Grey Bruce website for more details. And the health unit now lists all the groups that are a priority for testing, and of course it has the capacity to test more people now. There's more kits available. So on a more positive note again, I'm still welcoming entries to the Mayor's Challenge, and you can look on kincardintalks.ca. The email is mayorschallenge@kincardine.ca, and you can check there. I have challenged all children and teens to tell me what you have learned. How to cook a meal, bake a cake for your family, how you regularly FaceTime, Zoom, or phone friends and elderly people especially to show you care, and in some way can you do anything for them. And any other way you continue to help our community. I have great faith in children and teens with their creativity and their ability to help us and do their part. So I would like to hear about them. So in conclusion, I'd like to congratulate each resident in the municipality of Kincardine. You are continuing to save lives by practicing social distancing and proper hygiene protocols to help in this fight against COVID-19. However, as it gets longer, it's getting harder to keep it up, I'm sure, but we need to persevere. The numbers still aren't where we want them. We still need to flatten the curve more, or have the cases go down first, and then it'll be reevaluated. So the good news is that our health services are well prepared. The other thing I want to mention is if you walk in our trails, help us keep them open by making sure you practice social distancing. Social distancing and staying home, except for essential errands, are the main tools we have. So let's continue to be Kincardine strong and support each other. So that's all I have for tonight. And next is the consent agenda. Did anybody have anything from the consent agenda?
Bill did.
Okay, Bill?
I don't know if everyone got a chance to read, but down at, let me see, what is it? Section 7.3, communication, under HB, the town of Midland, they're asking the federal government to waive the property taxes in 2020. I thought that was a pretty bold move. It's just a comment. I don't know if anyone got a chance to read it. It's worth reading.
I did
Well,
happen.
I read it.
Yeah.
I think most of us would read that. But anyway, it is what it
It's
is.
an interesting comment. Yeah.
Any other ones? So hearing no more for that, we'll have a motion to adjourn. Committee of the Whole.
Moved by Doug Kennedy, second by Randy Ropel, that this Committee of the Whole adjourn at 5:47 p.m.
Those in favor?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Those opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried. I must have put my council agenda in with this one. Here it is. So we're back to council. And do we have matters arising?
We do. The first one is the consent agenda, and it's moved by Marie Wilson and seconded by Bill Stewart.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Opposed? Abstainers? Motion carried.
And the second one is the Dunsmore Park retaining wall tender acceptance bylaw, and it's moved by Doug Kennedy and seconded by Jerry Glover.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried.
And the third one is the Bruce County levy due date deferral, and it's moved by Laura Haight and seconded by Doug Kennedy.
Any further discussion? Good news. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried. That's it for matters arising. So we'll have members of council general announcements, and I'll start with Doug Kennedy.
Not much. Just shop local. Be sure you eat out once a week and help out our restaurants and local shops. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Laura?
I just want to thank the fellow councillors who ponied up the $25 for the gift certificates for prizes for the Legion Wash Your Dang Hands trivia. We had over 300 people playing on Friday night, and the next event will be on May 8th in support of hospice on the hospice Facebook page. So there'll be trivia again with super duper prizes. So May 8th, and again, shop local.
Thanks, Laura. Randy?
Yes, I'd like to give a big shout out to Jennifer Laurie and Jennifer White for being so patient with this old bugger. I took this tablet and I did things with it that hell astronauts couldn't do, and they had to help me put this all back together. So God bless them. They're patient, very patient people, and I owe them a debt of gratitude. And the other thing is, to the people, stay strong, do as you're told, and we'll be just fine.
Thank you, Randy. Bill?
Just wanted to say, Laura, you can count my contribution in for the May 8th game, too, if you want to. Just like to sort of reinforce what Ann said. I'm very proud to be part of this council, very proud to have such a good staff working for us, and the citizens and the residents of Kincardine have done an outstanding job. It's going to be a tough go, but we're only sort of probably halfway through it. Who knows? But we've got to continue on until the end of this fight, and we will win it.
Thank you, Bill. Jerry?
I just want to really appreciate and recognize the frontline workers in acute and primary care working the front lines, and also to the municipal staff and Sharon for her leadership and contributions thus far. And I also want to acknowledge something that was alluded to earlier. I want to recognize Ashley Richards, the executive director for our local chamber. Our organization was one of the beneficiaries of the care packages alluded to earlier through Bruce Power and the local chambers, and our patients have picked them right up. And if it wasn't for her working with Bruce Power, her counterpart at the chamber in Saugeen Shores, this would not have happened. So tremendous acknowledgement to Ashley Richards and her leadership of the chamber in this instance.
Okay, thank you. I think our own Jenna Uji was part of that as well, our economic development.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Sharon, can you confirm that for me?
Yes, she was.
Okay, thanks. And Maureen and Dave. So it's Marie.
Yeah, so I just want to give a shout out to some people in Tiverton. I got a flyer in my door last week, and what it is, it's Tiverton News, and it's a newsletter they put together. And basically what it is a bunch of people have put their phone numbers, and they are offering to help people out if you need your dog walked, or you need groceries picked up, or you need medication picked up. All you have to do is call. And they've also, they have identified a number of people that are, they're calling them the more experienced members of our community, which is very nice. And they've been given a red and green paper. So if these people are okay, then they just put the green paper in the window. But if they need anything, they put the red paper, and there's someone monitoring these. So it's really good. And the challenge on this, too, is to reach out to one neighbor each week in April. And, of course, we can carry that forward. So if you need more information about this, they're on hashtag Tiverton Strong on Facebook. So I just thought this was a great initiative. And I also want to extend thanks out there to all the frontline workers. And as I've said before, and we've all said before, we will get through this together. So anyway, stay safe.
Thanks, Marie. That's a very good initiative, very good idea. And I'm sure maybe it can be extended to other communities with the identifying with the paper in the window. That's great. I've given my mayor's report earlier, but I will say I'll be like Councillor Stewart. I'll contribute it to the May 8th. Just remind me closer to the time, Laura.
Will do.
And I can't say enough how much we really respect our frontline workers, whether they're healthcare workers or grocery store. But I was really impressed when I read the paper the other day, and this week, as you might know, there's a redeployment, or they're encouraging redeployment. There's some hospitals that are well staffed, and there's some nursing homes that are just in crisis. And I read where, and I think this speaks to all our healthcare professionals, how dedicated they are, where some doctors and nurses from that normally work in hospitals volunteered on the weekend to do a shift as long as 12 hours, I think some of them did, in nursing homes, and they were going to take direction as personal support workers. So to me, that just sums up what our healthcare profession people are like. If there's a job that needs to be done, they do it. And they help one another. So, Sharon, did you have anything else from staff side tonight?
No, I have nothing. Thanks.
Okay. So we do have a closed meeting tonight, and so we'll move into closed, and then we'll take a little break because our TV expert here needs some time before we start the closed session.
So it's moved by Randy Ropel, seconded by Marie Wilson. The council move into closed meeting for the purpose of considering a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, and it's the hosting agreement with Ontario Power Generation, and further the council return to regular open meeting upon completion.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried. So we'll take a quick break.